I do want to ask you about some comments that President Trump actually made about you. This was a post on Friday night. Let me read you, get your reaction on the other side. He said, quote, "Whatever happened to Senator Rand Paul? He was never great, but he went really bad. I got him elected twice in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, but he just never votes positively for the Republican Party. He's a nasty little guy."
On Friday, President Donald Trump crashed out because there are a few principled Republicans in the Republican Party, individuals who actually care about this country more than funding and supporting genocides in other parts of the world. So we'll get back to Rand Paul in just a moment, but first let's talk about Congressman Thomas Massie, because that feud between Trump and Massie has continued. And on Friday, Trump wrote that third-rate Congressman Thomas Massie, a weak and pathetic rhino from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, a place I love and won big 6 times, okay, must be thrown out of office ASAP. He only votes against the Republican Party, making life very easy for the radical left. Now look, it's interesting that he says that Massie is somehow doing favors for the radical left. Massie is a libertarian. He likes small government. I would venture to say the radical left is the opposite of that. And Massie doesn't want to spend money on all sorts of things, including, by the way, public programs, social programs, which I would like to focus our resources on, and wars abroad, which I actually agree with him on. But the fact that he is willing to stand up to Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party because he's a principled libertarian, he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. He has now drawn the ire of the Trump administration, okay? So Trump also called Massie a totally ineffective loser, with loser in all caps, of course, typical Trump. He also endorsed a veteran named Captain Ed Galrian to run against him. So he is endorsing a challenger to Massie, and there is an effort from donors out of state to fund the opponent.
Of course.
He also endorsed, so to be clear, by the way, that guy hasn't even entered the race yet officially.
Yeah. But they're saying the pro-Israel donors, don't worry, they will flood you with millions of dollars and you'll be able to defeat him. And as long as you, of course, promise to serve Israel.
In response, Massie posted an image of a donation that Galrian made to Senator Lindsey Graham, writing, "Well, look here, the hack Trump just endorsed to run against me is a Lindsey Graham donor." And of course, Lindsey Graham, huge loyalist to Israel's genocidal project, in fact, wants to go to war with Iran.
Yep.
With Iran on behalf of Israel. Galrian sent $500 in total to Graham. Massie also wrote, "Dogs don't bark at parked cars. There's a reason some of the world's richest and most powerful people are trying to get me out of Congress. I'm just one of the 435 votes, but I bring transparency to an otherwise dark and corrupted institution of government." By the way, the other thing that Massie, of course, is getting hounded about is the fact that he wants to release the Epstein files. He does want transparency. He thinks the American people deserve to know whether there are powerful people in this country, in the government or otherwise, who might be pedophiles that a foreign government or intelligence service has been blackmailing. I think we deserve to know that as Americans who are supposed to live in a democracy. If any of our lawmakers are compromised as a result of blackmail, we should know about it. Massie agrees.
Yeah, so Massie might vote against most initiatives that I'd be in favor of in Congress. You must support Tom Massie for election.
Yep.
Because this isn't about normal policy debates. This is about, are we gonna have anyone honest in Congress? Are we gonna have anyone who actually represents Americans and not a foreign government? And doesn't go out of his way to try to protect sick pedophiles that raped our children, that both Democratic and Republican administrations, Democratic and Republican leadership is desperately trying to protect. And if you don't know, pro-Israel donors have already sent $2 million to run ads against Massie in his district. And that was well before, a year before his election. So the $2 million is just a warning shot. They spent nearly $20 million against Jamal Bowman. Well, that's weird. Jamal Bowman and Tom Massie don't agree on anything in terms of policy. except they're both for Americans and not for Israel. And those donors and a lot of the leadership, including Donald Trump and Joe Biden, find it unacceptable if there's anyone in Congress who won't bow their heads to that foreign government. So that's why they're targeting Tom Massie. If they beat Massie, all the other cowards in Congress will scurry around and go, oh, okay, Israel, which they already do anyway. They'll just quadruple down on it. But if Massie wins, it begins to send a message. Maybe Israel's control over our government and our media is not invincible. Maybe they're humans, guys. There's no like weirdo tropes and stuff. They're just yes, they have a lot of money. But we've beaten money before. That's why they're freaking out about Mamdani too.
100%.
Isn't that amazing that the two guys that the Israeli lobby is most dead set against don't agree on anything otherwise?
Yeah, it's such a good point.
Mamdani and Massie. The one thing that they both are targeted for is that they will not bow their head to Israel.
So let's move on to Rand Paul. So here's how Paul responded to Trump's post, essentially, attacking him for not being a good loyalist to anything and everything Trump wants to do.
I think the problem is this, is that in Washington, what I represent, some people describe as unusual, and the president describes it as weird that I'm for less debt and balanced budgets. But when I come home to Kentucky or when I travel the United States, people come up to me and say, stick to your guns, you're the only voice up there, Republican or Democrat, who's still talking about the debt and still talking about balanced budgets. But I don't take it too seriously. Look, I've known the president for over a decade. I've played golf with him many, many times. I enjoy his company. I was one of his biggest defenders on impeachment and would do so again. I think he's one of the best presidents, if not the best presidents of my lifetime. But it doesn't mean I will sit quietly and just say, oh, well, whatever you want to do. I was elected to have a voice, and so I continue to be a voice, like on the bombing of the Venezuelan boats. I think that's inappropriate. War with Venezuela without Congress's opinion or Congress's weighing in and authorization is inappropriate. The tariffs are bad for the economy. But it doesn't mean I dislike Donald Trump. So he gets mad at me sometimes, but I'm still one of his best supporters if he's willing to have it.
I have mixed feelings about that statement.
So the other day I got a new mattress. My old mattress sucked. It had all these grooves, you'd fall into them, you couldn't get out. It was a disaster. So I got a Lisa mattress, love it. Finally some peace and rest. So I did their cute little mattress quiz. Even their quizzes are cute. Anyways, it turns out my favorite is a Legend Chill Hybrid. I'm not saying that that's an accurate description of my personality as well. I'm just saying. So I got it, I tried it. There we go. Love it. Now getting some peace and rest. You guys gotta check it out. Oh, plus they do really good things in the world. They actually have given away thousands of mattresses to people in need, and they help to clean our oceans. What else do you want? So this is the kind of win-win we love at TYT. Check them out. Go to lisa.com for 20% off, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code TYT. That's exclusive to our viewers. That's LEESA.com, promo code TYT for 20% off, plus an extra $50 off. Support our show and let them know that we sent you after checkout. Lisa.com, promo code TYT.
Look, I know that Trump is very thin-skinned, and if Rand Paul came out and said what he actually thinks about Donald Trump and his administration would probably rain hell on Rand Paul, okay? Let's just keep it real. Do you think Rand Paul really enjoys the company of Donald Trump, who's like all over social media attacking him because he's not being, supportive enough of Trump's agenda?
Yeah, Massie is a full spine. Rand Paul has developed half a spine.
Agreed.
But you know what? That's half more than 98% of Congress.
Yeah.
So let's break that down a little bit. So look, this new development of principled and consistent conservatives is manna from heaven. Because usually what happens is, and it's definitely true of both sides, the minute that one side gets in the power, they flip positions.
Yes.
Right, every time.
So true.
Filibuster is the worst thing in the world. The filibuster is the greatest thing in the world, right? On and on and on. It goes back and forth, right? Oh, I'm not releasing the Epstein files. Oh, I want you to release the Epstein files. Don't release them, right?
The scam of partisan politics in America.
Yeah, partisan politics is a theater that mainstream media, corporate media puts on a show for you guys. None of it is real. What's real is when you criticize Israel and they spend, I said 20 million against Jamal Bowman. They spent 35 million against Mamdani.
Wow, for a local mayoral race?
For a mayoral race that has nothing to do with Israel because they don't want to seem like they're not invincible.
It's so crazy because there's been so little coverage and debate about what Mamdani wants to do locally. You know what I'm
saying? By the way, I mean, I'm not going to help them. They missed the best line of attack against them because they have Israeli-itis.
Yep.
They can't think of anything but Israel. And they're like, why won't you go to Israel? Oh, he's with a Muslim. That Muslim said something naughty. That Muslim said something naughty. Oh, everybody's not. No, all the Muslims are terrible. You should hate all Muslims. But I'm worried about bigotry against Jews. Oh, so you're not worried about bigotry against Muslims, though. Anyway, mainstream media is hopeless, and they're the crooks that are lying to you in whole. But in the midst of those crooks, in the midst of all this corruption in politics and media, what's happening is the online world is empowering the Massies and the Rand Pauls and the Mamdanis, etc., and saying, go get him, we got your back, we got your back. That's why I'm telling you, go get Thomas Massie's back. Okay.
Just be authentic.
Authentic.
Don't be, you know.
And represent Americans.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, Rand Paul, if you notice, there's one difference between him and the others. He's tweaked on Iran and attacking Iran. He's great on the Venezuelan boats because he's like, that's extrajudicial killings. Conservatives should be against that. People who love the Constitution should be against that. He's absolutely right about that. The tariffs, the budgets, that's why Trump's hitting him. But the Israeli lobby hasn't really gone after him like they have with Massie and others because he doesn't say that much about Israel.
Yeah, he focuses on the other wars that Trump is starting. He is not in favor of the CIA operations that are currently, covert operations that are currently taking place in Venezuela, which the administration has fessed up to. And I commend Rand Paul on his position on that issue. Look, I'll say this about libertarians. I do have disagreements with them, obviously, especially when it comes to social programs and whether or not we spend money on them. However, on foreign policy, they tend to be a lot more principled. And when I say a lot more principled, I'm comparing them to members of the Democratic Party. And I'm just talking about politicians here. Because members of the Democratic Party, I remember, in the early aughts, were certainly more willing to push back against wars. Not so much anymore. Really, look, it's shocking to me that Marjorie Taylor Greene has been pushing back against what's going on in Gaza way more than AOC has. And not to just pick on AOC because she's a symbol of the progressives in Congress right now. Rashida Tlaib is doing what she's doing, but since she's Palestinian, unfortunately, people don't take what she's saying seriously. But
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Randy Fine says kill everyone in Gaza, and he's respected and quoted. He was on TV today, right? But Rashida Tlaib hasn't said anything about killing Jews or Israelis. That not at all. They're like, no, I didn't like a chant, or I didn't like your hair. You're Palestinian. Shut up, right? American media is so disgusting. By the way, today, a massive campaign, coordinated campaign to try to drive Curtis Sliwa out of the New York mayoral race so that Cuomo can get all the votes because Cuomo is the biggest ass kisser for Israel in the country. So he is like put up a for sale sign, or actually already sold. And he works for Israel 100%. He says it in every debate. What about Israel? What about beloved Israel? We should all bow to Israel, right? So they're like, Sliwa, you better get out of the race. You're hurting our efforts in destroying Mamdani on behalf of Israel. And I'll give Curtis Sliwa credit, which I never expected to do. He's like, nope. He's like, you want me to help these billionaires who don't give a damn about the average New Yorker? I've been living in this city the whole time, okay? No billionaires, I'm not leaving the race.
There are not everything about Curtis Sliwa, obviously, but there are things about him that I like.
You know why? Because
he's a real person.
He's a real person.
Yeah.
So like he sometimes he's clownish. Certainly I don't agree with him. I'm glad he lost the beret, right? But
I like the beret. What's wrong with the beret?
Nah, I'm very anti-beret. Anyway, but the bottom line is, he's a real person. You could tell the robots from the real people.
Yeah.
And in reality, they're so dumb. If they helped Sliwa instead of Cuomo, Sliwa would have had a better chance.
100%. No, I believe 100%. I believe you.
But mainstream media and those corporate goons, they'll never believe that because they're like, oh, he wasn't even educated in an ivory. I do declare. He's a real ruffian from the streets of New York when it should be someone from a skyscraper like us, of course. Hey, send in Andrew Belief. Hey, boy Cuomo, go in there and work for Israel, okay? Sliwa. So Curtis, stay strong, brother.
And I'm okay with the beret. Put it back on if you want.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.